Hey everybody, we're back with another episode of How to Play Minetest. In this episode, we're going to divert from our usual path and explore a multiplayer world that I've been playing on with some family members. And we're going to discuss some multiplayer tips, things that will make multiplayer much better and much more fun to play with other people. We usually play on a LAN connection, and that's just your typical in-house router with everybody plugged in either via cable, Ethernet cable, or on Wi-Fi, and we play together that way with one computer hosting and everybody else joining that computer. You can find tutorials out on YouTube or on the wiki site on how to set up a LAN game. It's really quite easy, so I'm not going to go into that here. The first thing that you're going to see is this sign right here says Orwek. That's my multiplayer name, and it's labeling this chest right here. We have found that when you get into multiplayer, you have a tendency for your world to get corrupted once in a while, and so we'll do backups after every game, but just in case we don't get a backup made and it gets corrupted, we put everything in a chest, because for some reason, if it's in a chest on the world, it doesn't get lost, but if you're still holding it, it does. So the first thing we recommend is having a chest that you put all your stuff in when you're done playing, and that you back up your worlds regularly. For the next tip, we're going to wander outside here. This is inside a ship that I built with my sons. Come over here. And there she be. Isn't she a beautiful sight? So the next thing you'll notice is we have a chest right here next to the ship. And the reason we did this was so that my sons could go out and collect materials, a lot of wood obviously for the ship, and they can put it in the chest so that I can continue building the ship. So that way they're still contributing, and the ship actually gets built faster because I don't have to stop and go find materials. So it works out really well to have a common chest that, okay, we need this amount of wood, we need this amount of stone, this amount of sand or gravel or whatever you're building, and you just have a chest near your build site where everybody can put materials while one or two people build the actual item. Alright, for the next thing we're going to talk about, we're going to wander over here a little bit. Oops. It's also good to plant a grove of trees nearby if you're building something particularly huge, made out of wood. This is a tree house I built on here, which you may remember from an earlier episode. It's one that I like to build. Go past some other smaller buildings. In this world, this was the first house that we lived in. We just went into a cave and walled it off so that we could get away from the baddies that were out there chasing us down. Okay, here's our next item. This is an in-game game. The name of this game, if you come over here, is Tablut, which is a form of Nefeltoffel, and it's played on a 9x9 grid. And we have these chests here so the players can empty their inventory, so that when they play, they just have to worry about their pieces out here. The way this game plays is similar to chess, where you have a king and other pieces, but in this case you have a king in his castle being attacked on all sides by an invading army. So it plays a little bit differently, but the rules are so simple you can build the game board right in Minetest and play it in Minetest, which is pretty cool. So that's one that is kind of fun, that there's an in-game game. Work our way up the stairs here to our next location. Give you kind of a top view of what that looks like. So we built it on purpose down in this valley so that if people wanted to watch, they could sit up on the sides over here and see what's going on. Alright, here's a graveyard, which once again is no longer necessary in 0.4.10 because bone blocks disappear. And naturally we built it right next to this chapel. Once you look inside, you can see all the pews in there. You'll notice there's a lot of roads here, and that's on purpose so that we could each have plenty of space to build what we wanted to build, but still have everything connected. So there's our chapel over there. And it's also helpful because you do have a lot of people. It helps to find each other when you need to work on something. This is the next concept I wanted to show you. This is a bunkhouse, which while we were building the chapel, there was really only one house nearby, and so everybody else would have to run off at nighttime to go hop in bed so that we could get through night faster. So I came up with this idea of a bunkhouse where we could put just a whole bunch of beds, and I have a glass roof so we can see when it's daytime again and get out easily. And there's just a door on each end. I have a craft guide here, so if anyone needs to remember how to build something real quick, they can look. And then outside the bunkhouse, we have a community furnace and a community chest that if you have something that you don't necessarily need, you can throw it in here. So if someone had an extra map and put it in here, someone had an extra pickaxe and flowers, guess they didn't need dye at that point. But it just makes it so that there's somewhere that the community can work together on things and give things to each other. Bunkhouse number 1. Wahoo! Okay, let's see. The last concept we wanted to talk about is respecting each other's space. There really isn't a way to enforce spaces without getting into a whole bunch of server-side coding, which is possible on some servers. If you go out online, they'll have message boards set up at the spawn point, and they'll say, here's how you mark off a space, here's how you do this, here's how you do that, here's how you get privileges. For a LAN game, we don't really bother, especially with us all being family, so we just respect each other's space by building as far away from each other as we can, but still be inside of each other. So like right here, we kind of marked off with roads, marked off this corner here, and then we built this pyramid inside. So the road itself acts as a barrier. So that's one way that you can set up your cities, is just build a road around the area you want to build in, and then that marks it off as taken, especially if you start building something. So that's some tips on how to play multiplayer. And if you have people who really want their space, see if you can even see it from here. My brother built a tower way out in the distance there. See if it renders. Yep, there it is. So he really wanted to have some space, so he built a house way out in the distance over there. And so we've respected his space there. I don't think we've built the road all the way over there yet. And there's another concept here. This is a workshop, basically, a home away from home. So there's a bed, there's a well to get water, furnace, and a chest. And so that's really the minimum that you need to do anything. If you're going into a different area and you want to set up a little shop so you don't have to go all the way home in between when night comes. So I initially built this little workshop here, and then we built the church over here. And because other people were helping me, we built the bunkhouse because they had to go all the way down into the valley over there. We go inside our church here. You see I've got a tiled floor, lots of pews, and up here you have a pulpit and a sacrament table there. So kind of a fun thing to do once you get a community going. So that's really all I had for this episode. If you guys have things you'd like me to cover or discuss or talk about, feel free to leave it in the comments below, and I will try to cover it in a future episode. Until next time, we will leave it at this and get back to the ship over here. I'd also like to thank everybody real quick for subscribing to my videos. I've had a lot of subscribers lately, and I assume they're from my Minetest videos. YouTube doesn't really say which video they subscribed on, so head back up in here. Oh, And for those who are wondering, yes, I used a furnace to make cannons on the ship. But that's a whole other topic of how to decorate things. So we'll head back down here. So if I were ending the game, I'd come in here and click on the chest, offload anything I had been holding on to, and then I would log out of the server. Once again, thank you guys for watching and subscribing. Feel free to share this with your friends and anyone else you think might be interested, and we will catch you next time. Thanks.